So a YouTuber named Under The Mayo made a video about Batman Arkham Knight, basically saying that the game is terrible, and it doesn't feel like a Batman game and stuff. Now, some of you may know this guy from his terrible reviews of other things in the past, most notably what I know him from, and that's the God of War reviews. But yeah, before I start this, remember if you disagree with anything said, be sure to slide over to the Disagreement Day streams. Our next Disagreement Day stream will be Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video.
I wanted to give it a fair shot, just to pick it up and play and see where it takes me. And, well, I'm f***ing shocked. I had no idea it could be this bad. Arkham Knight is hands down one of the most irritating, frustrating, and boring games I've played in years. It's not even bad in an interesting way.
If this is one of the most boring games you've played in years, do you even play any games? Like, genuine question, there is no chance.
The whole thing is just wrong. So many people warned me about the driving sections, but no one actually gave me a sense of just how much of the game they take up. They made it seem like an inconvenience, something you have to tolerate and try to ignore. No, I swear half this fucking game is driving the Batmobile, driving around the streets and fighting tanks. Tank combat, just what you want in a Batman game. Dodging missiles and blowing up 10 tanks in an arena fight, sneaking around Cobra tanks driven by morons that can't hear the Batmobile running over things behind them, and then shooting them in the back. Over and over and over.
Now, while I'm one of the people that don't really like the Batmobile combat much, I really don't know what kind of argument you think you could form with the driving sections. Like, genuinely, what is bad about the chases or the races or the just driving sections, just pure driving sections in general? The combat, I agree, it's very mediocre, feels very tedious, it's not fun. But the Batmobile as a whole in the game, the runtime that you actually spend using the Batmobile playing this game, was actually conveniently calculated by that boy Aqua.
I recorded every frame of gameplay for this video, and I completed the game 100% in 21 hours. All the side quests, all the Riddler trophies, everything. In those 21 hours, I was in the Batmobile for just under 4 hours. This is 19% of the game. If you include the downloadable content, which gives you an extra 4 hours of missions and gameplay, only 3 minutes and 30 seconds of which was in the Batmobile, then you get a total of 16% Batmobile throughout the entire game.
Now, I've seen other people calculate their playtime in the Batmobile of around 20 to 25% at a high end, but even if we do go with that really high ball, it really does put into perspective how disingenuous to say that the Batmobile is 50 or most of the game. Is the Batmobile combat a valid criticism of the game? Yes. But something Under the Mayo does with not only just the combat sections, but also the driving sections, is something that we've had to deal with on this channel for the past 2 response videos I've made. He doesn't explain anything as to why it's actually bad. But let's continue.
Missions where you gotta find a way to get the Batmobile into the area so it can do something for you. Call the Batmobile so it can save you. It never ends. Main missions, side missions, it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm gonna do this side quest and stop this bad guy from burning buildings. Let's get him. Oh no, I have to chase him in the Batmobile, of course. No! Oh, the Riddler kidnapped Catwoman. I like Catwoman, let's go save her. Shit, I have to race around the sewer first? 4 laps? Great.
So another thing he brings up is how some of the missions in the game require you to use the Batmobile for either puzzles or to get out of an entrapment. Now, I can agree some of the puzzles that you do with the Batmobile, especially Riddler ones, some of them can be tedious. But that's kind of been a trend with a lot of Arkham puzzles, even the games that don't have the Batmobile. The only difference here is you're dealing with a tedious puzzle and now you're in the Batmobile doing it. But a lot of the main story puzzles, quote unquote, they're not even bad. A good amount of them actually do require you to use your brain a little bit and figure out what you have to do with the tools that you have at your disposal. Riddler trophies, on the other hand, while I still think there are some good puzzles that do feature the Batmobile, there are definitely tedious ones. But again, this is between the 16 and 25% of the game area, so even if the puzzles can be tedious from time to time with the Batmobile, that doesn't take up a lot of your runtime. He also says that the Firefly race mission is bad, and while I don't think it's bad, it's just okay, I still don't see how the chase sequences with Firefly are really bad. I definitely prefer chasing like the APCs when you have to deal with the trucks that shoot missiles at you and you can ram them off the road and stuff. But I wouldn't say the Firefly chases are necessarily bad. I would say the biggest problem with the Firefly side quest is the fact that there's no like boss fight at the end of it, and you just do the same thing for like 4 times in a row. But even still, the chases with Firefly are pretty fun. The Riddler races are extremely engaging and really fun, and that whole Riddler side mission, with the exclusion of the Riddler trophies, actually has a really good balance of puzzles, Batmobile, and combat. And the Batmobile sections in the main quest line for Riddler are actually really fun, so I don't really see the issue. And again, if you're not going to explain why these things are bad, then I myself don't feel like I need to go in depth and explain why you're wrong either, because you're not giving me anything specific to chew on exactly. There's a difference between a statement that says, oh, the combat is bad, boring, unengaging, and some things don't work within the combat system, requiring things to be broken, for example, and you actually explaining and substantiating as to why these are actual issues with the thing.
There came a point where I got so fed up with the game that I turned it off for, I don't know, a solid week, maybe more. I put out some other videos, played some indie games. Finally, I came back to Arkham Knight, not remembering where I left off. I hit continue and loaded right into a fucking tank section.
Oh, fuck.
It is awful. And when the driving sections finally end, you get thrown into melee combat, and it's like whiplash. I can't even remember what game I was playing. What do all these buttons do again? How do I use the environmental attacks? I gotta look it up every time I open the game. Why is it the same button combination as picking up weapons? Why are there more colored indicators to react to? Blue indicators, red indicators, glowing objects, glowing people. Too much crap on screen.
I'm sorry, you're mad that they made the combat more engaging?
You serious?
And you say there's like too much on the screen to like, actually pay attention and be able to focus. That's just a fucking skill issue. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. It's really not that hard. The UI is really not that intrusive, and it's not that hard to read. He also asks, why is picking up weapons and environmental takedowns the same thing? It's because they're both, dealing with the environment. And while this could be an issue, I don't really think it is, because oftentimes you won't even be near an environmental takedown, and the enemy also has to be near that environmental takedown. So if you're not near it and you just hit the environmental takedown button prompts, you will pick up one of the weapons off the ground. Sure, there could be a time with these control schemes where you accidentally, do an environmental takedown when you wanted to pick up a weapon, but that is actually, I can't even remember if that's ever even happened to me before. And this is genuinely the first time I've ever actually heard anyone complain about this. If anything, I think a more valid complaint with all the Arkham systems in general, combat-wise, would be sometimes when you press square or X to attack an enemy, sometimes it makes you hit an enemy that you don't want to, which can sometimes make you lose your combo unfairly. I think it is consistent a lot of the time that I hit who I want, but I wouldn't deny that that would be an inconvenience that I can see people complaining about. However, what you brought up is something that would happen extremely rarely, if ever. And you don't even provide a gameplay example of this happening to you.
And why does the combat feel slower compared to Arkham City? Am I imagining things?
Yes. If anything, it actually takes more skill in Arkham Knight for your character to move faster, because in like Arkham City and Arkham Origins, time actually slows down for you when you hit a certain combo meter, which makes your character move faster. But in Arkham Knight, you have to actually time the attack button so that your character moves faster or slower. And enemies don't slow down, which keeps the level of engagement the same all the way throughout.
The melee combat just doesn't feel as good to me. I remember when I first picked up City after Asylum and I tried to pick random fights in the street, I got my ass kicked right away and repeatedly. In Arkham Knight, if I pick fights, everyone is just a pushover. I don't know how to describe this in detail, it's just a feeling.
I really can't even comprehend what the hell you mean by this. Pretty much all the Arkham games are like the same level of difficulty throughout, but in Arkham Knight, not only is there more enemy variety, which, provides better enemy engagement, but you also have more combat moves. It doesn't matter which of these games you play, if you're fighting the random thugs, you're really not gonna have a hard time. And if you were struggling with, Arkham thugs, then I guess I know now why you don't like Elden Ring.
I get that it's cool to have more options or different options, but the combat encounters themselves don't seem to really make that feel very satisfying.
Maybe it's because you're playing a stealth segment using the combat mechanics.
One thing I loved in Arkham City was how seamlessly they introduced the functionality of your gear into the exploration of the world. The electric gun would open doors, the freeze bombs shut off the steam pipes and could be used to form glaciers on the water, and the grapple would pull you across. You were always engaging with your gadgets, which made me want to use them more in combat because I remembered I had them. I'm not getting that experience in Arkham Knight. Instead, the solution to all these puzzles tends to be find a way to make the car do it. In Arkham City, I felt badass mastering the Batman fighting style. In Arkham Knight, I just want every fight to be over so I can move on.
You still do use gadgets in Arkham Knight for exploration and puzzles. Only this time around, some of them have the Batmobile included. Like, what? And you say you forget you have the gadgets. That's a you problem. And you say you hate the Batmobile, but you're bored by the other elements of the gameplay too, and you say you just want to move on. What the fuck? How are you bored by the combat and stealth segments? Gameplay elements which you liked in the previous entries that are objectively an improvement in Arkham Knight. This would be like saying, I really like the web swinging in Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, but in Spider-Man 2, the game which improves upon that element of the gameplay in literally every way, I just found myself bored, wanting to get to the next spot. Like, what? And again, why are you showing gameplay of you using combat mechanics in a fucking stealth encounter?
But move on to what? The 50th Joker conversation? The next driving sequence? The next side mission that I'm absolutely trying to avoid because there's a 50% chance it involves the Batmobile?
There is literally 3 out of 18 different quest lines in the game that primarily involve using the Batmobile, and the other 18, you barely use the Batmobile in them. What the fuck?
I can't even get into the world because, as I've said, I'm not a Batman fan. But Arkham City got me there. It got me interested in the experience, and I liked exploring and interacting with the characters. It felt like an authentic Batman world.
How in the same sentence do you say, I can't even get involved in the world because I'm not a Batman fan, and then say, I liked Arkham City because it felt like an authentic Batman world?
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life.
Fantasy, but grounded in a way. Arkham Knight does not feel like a Batman game. It feels more like... oh god, this is gonna get me in so much trouble with people. It feels like Batman porn.
You peanut head motherfucker, that didn't make any damn sense.
There's a moment early on when you're rescuing hostages and Batman stops in the middle of the mission to call in an airdrop where he upgrades his suit. And it's this gross, overindulgent scene of, oh yeah, fuck yeah, look at all that sweet gear. Batman's so badass. Never mind the hostages are waiting to be rescued, let's run around doing these VR training missions for the next 20 minutes so we can try out all this radical Batman tech.
He literally calls in the tech so that he can save the hostages without one of them getting shot. And you're mad that Batman is getting a new suit and better technology to fight threats, and you don't even have to do the AR challenges. You can do that after.
Your intellect is as weak as your dollar. Failure is your destiny. You disrespect yourself and your nation. You are made of stupid.
It's gross. I felt like I needed a shower. It's not just Batman being Batman in Arkham City. It's Batman in the newest high-tech gear, man. He's got secret headquarters built all around the city. The Batwing flies in to help him.
You mean, just like in Arkham City?
He's driving in the Batmobile shooting tanks, crashing into hundreds of cars and destroying the city and running over people without a care because he's so badass. I cannot get into this.
You do realize that most of the shit that you just mentioned is in the player's control, right? You don't even have to do most of what you just mentioned.
I'm not saying there aren't things I like, I'm not saying there aren't good combat moments. I enjoyed figuring out some of the scenarios with multiple armed guards. I enjoyed encountering an actual puzzle during the campaign on the blimp, that was cool. It's fun to be able to swing off your grapple and instantly start flying, though it does feel significantly less grounded in Batman's abilities. I had fun here and there, but it was completely buried by dozens of experiences in misery and tedium. I couldn't finish it. I made it halfway into the Harley Quinn section and I gave up.
He didn't even finish the game. You experienced not even half of the content in the game, and you gave up and made this video. Okay, that's certainly one way to do things, I guess.
It didn't matter that it was presenting me with more actual combat. I think I just didn't care anymore.
You got what you wanted, and you quit on the level. In this level, you get gadget puzzles that don't involve the Batmobile, combat and stealth. Nothing here even involves the Batmobile. You got what you wanted in this level, and you gave up. Like, you cannot make this shit up.
I don't want to risk any more side missions involving the Batmobile. I don't care who the Arkham Knight is or what he wants. I don't care to find out how Joker's blood is infecting people with his personality or whatever. I've had it up to here with this ridiculously bloated and unintuitive upgrade system where you can upgrade like 200 things. It's enough. I've had enough.
I mean, I already covered the thing about the side missions, the stuff he says about the story. If you don't care, then you don't care. But then you bring it to the upgrade tree, which has a bunch of variety in the gameplay, and you're mad that it has more variety in the gameplay and a good progression system.
This game sucks. I'm gonna drink it out of my memory and just keep Arkham City in my thoughts.
Well, I guess that means we won't have to hear any more shit takes about you from this franchise, so there is one good thing in this video.
And I'm tagging this on at the end because I feel everyone's gonna ask what I thought about the Fear takedown. I think it's a completely unnecessary addition that makes stealth sections way too easy, easier than they already are, since the enemies just seem to not notice you've taken out half their crew. It's stupid that you get it for free, it's stupid that it's so easy to do, I hate it.
I've seen a lot of people say the same thing about the Fear multi-takedown, and it's just completely stupid to me. A lot of the stealth encounters in Arkham Knight have so many enemies, and one Fear takedown will not be enough. This is added on to the fact that the Fear multi-takedown, you have to upgrade to, take out more people. So when you do reach the highest point of people it can take out, you'll be at the end game probably already, where they put even more people and even more enemy variety in the stealth encounters. And you also do not get the Fear multi-takedown for free. Yes, you start every encounter with it, but once you use it, you have to do a silent takedown to get it back. And you have to make it so that you position enemies correctly to even pull off the Fear multi-takedown successfully or effectively or efficiently. Yes, I agree the stealth in all of the Arkham games is pretty easy, but that doesn't mean that the stealth is unengaging. And you also have a shit ton of tools at your disposal to do a ton of creative things. To this day, people are still finding new and creative ways to take down stealth encounters. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate you guys if you would support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can also get early access to the comic that I'm working on my Patreon. This is gonna be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and yeah.